Good afternoon, people. God, sometimes I wish I had hair to comb. But I don't. So let's just stick with the video that I want to do, because of course you didn't come here to find out if I've got hair or not. So, there are a number of things that I want to discuss. The first and foremost being what happened with Tommy Robinson in the Speaker's Corner a few days ago. Because those who pay attention to him, even though he's been quote-unquote shadow banned by YouTube, and that his content's restricted just because of who he is, not what he's done, by big Silicon Valley company Google, you will know that he made a video before he went to Speaker's Corner saying that he's going to head down to Speaker's Corner. Originally it was on his own. I did find out in his description it did say see you all there. To be fair, it didn't matter if Tommy Robinson went on his own or with hundreds of people, because generally speaking he is a bit of a celebrity right now. I mean, he's a celebrity in the same way that, I don't know, someone like Mel Gibson was a celebrity. I think it was him who played that dude in Lethal Weapon. It's a bit like how Mel Gibson's a celebrity, or Keanu Reeves is a celebrity, and he has adoring fans all around. Tommy also has his adoring fans around. So regardless of whether or not he was going to go down to Speaker's Corner on his own or not, he was always going to have a whole bunch of people. But that's detracting from the point. The point I wanted to make is that he was arrested whilst going down to Speaker's Corner, and the police apparently had claimed that he had an offensive weapon, and that Tommy Robinson, when the more recent video came out from Super J with him discussing this arrest, basically Tommy had broken no laws. And last time I checked, Tommy did categorically state he was going to go down there on his own, no intent to hold a demonstration, all that bollocks. He wanted to go down and meet her tun and give her some chocolates and some flowers from his accounts, which I shouldn't think is breaking the law in any way, shape or form. And as said, the no more than 6 rule, I've mentioned it before in my other videos, but I'll mention it here. The only reason they're doing that bullshit procedure is because they don't want... It's not because they want to keep people safe, let me tell you. Because, have they not heard of herd mentality? Herd immunity? Well, I suppose herd mentality as well, but that's beside the point. Anyway, herd immunity would allow... When enough people catch COVID-1984, like they catch the common flu, which is basically what COVID-1984 is, people would end up developing a natural immunity to it. But back on point, they claim that he was arrested on a deadly weapon charge. He didn't have a deadly weapon, unless you can count Ferrero Rochers as deadly weapons, in which case, yes, he was probably armed to the brim with them. But, no, he didn't have an offensive weapon. And then The Guardian came out and said that he broke coronavirus laws. No. I'll link the article and the videos pertaining to this in the description below, so that you can see this all for yourself. Because I can tell people until I'm blue in the face, but I can't do a job for other people. Other people need to do their own research. I can't be here and act like prophet and messiah, fucking Muhammad for Islam, you know. That's not my job. My job is just to report what some people may not have the courage to do. And honestly, that's not for me to belittle them or anything, and I'm not belittling them, because it takes a big pair of balls to actually stand up against left-wing establishments. And especially fake news media like The Guardian, who are willfully breaking Section 2 of the 2006 Fraud Act, fraud by false representation, by saying that Tommy was arrested because he broke coronavirus laws. No, he wasn't. The police even said to him that he was being pulled away because they thought he had an offensive weapon, which turns out he didn't. But who's Hatun? Hatun is basically someone who criticizes Islam, and she doesn't back down. And unfortunately for this, she has had threats of death against her, she has been assaulted, she has had packs of Muslim men with this pack mentality, this hive mentality, harass her and give her grief, which is pretty much what Islam does. If there's any criticism towards their so-called prophet Muhammad, or Allah snack bar, then Islam has more fanatics in there than you will ever see in your lifetime. And they will just go out of their way. She even got assaulted by a couple of them. Again, I will link the video in the description so that you can see this, because stuff like this needs to be shared. Because it's getting to the point now where it's not just, oh, it's the big names that are getting harassed, like Tommy Robinson, or Sargon of Akkad, or Count Dankula, or people like me, or whoever. No, ordinary people who are speaking against Islam because they know the fundamentally bad beliefs of Islam are being attacked now. People who most definitely don't deserve it. And for the police to go in and arrest Tommy rather than those that would basically be under fire from Islam, that would be harassed by the fanatics, is just truly disgusting. Furthermore, I will actually read the Guardian article. I actually need to get this up. I actually got it up yesterday and did a video on this, pretty much the same things, but I decided to delete it just to refine it. Anyway, Tommy Robinson arrested for breaking COVID rules at London rally. This is the article the Guardian put out. And I keep getting harassed by their support the Guardian shit. Yeah, you can fuck off right now. Anyway, former EDL leader taken into custody after attending an event at Speaker's Corner in Hyde Park. The former English defence leaguer Tommy Robinson appears to have been arrested for breaking coronavirus restrictions during a heated rally in London. There was no demonstration held. It was just people gathering at Speaker's Corner, which is our fundamental right to practice free speech and to criticise beliefs that are fundamentally flawed. Excuse me. To deny us that right and to arrest people just for going to Speaker's Corner would fundamentally undermine the very thing that makes Britain or America what it is. Images on social media showed him being led away by police officers. The 37-year-old, whose real name is Stephen Yaxley Lennon, I said this in my old video, but these guys are just like a dog with a bone. The former EDL leader and 37-year-old and Stephen Yaxley Lennon and fucking saying that he's far right. Yeah, co-founded the far right EDL in 2009. As I said, I don't know if the EDL is fundamentally far right as of right now, but they keep throwing it out like it's fucking true, like it's gospel. I'm sorry for the swearing as well, but there are just some instances. I get to the stage where I cannot take this bullshit anymore. I'm not going to sit idly by while these traitors who are in Parliament, the media and the police, as well as those Islamic scumbags, continue to walk over the British people like doormats. So yeah, I'm going to be a little bit pissed when I start seeing more and more people suffering at the hands of both the barbaric practices of Islam and the draconian measures and the downright incompetent measures of the police and the government. Damn right I'm going to have a problem with it. And damn right I'm not going to hold back. The Metropolitan Police said they had arrested a man who was at a rally at Speaker's Corner in Hyde Park, London on Sunday. At 4,444 hours, a man aged in his 30s was arrested under the coronavirus regulations for holding or being involved in the holding of an event, even though Tommy Robinson categorically said in his most recent video, other than the one where he discussed his arrest, that he was not planning to hold a demonstration in any way, shape, or form, and was taken into police custody. So, as I've said, just from that last paragraph alone, they are lying. But of course, they don't want people to know the other side of the story. Their slogan is, put simply, the only truth that matters is the one we tell you. And anybody who's watched We've Got a Problem with that will know that all too well. But what about this lockdown that's coming down on Thursday? Who's actually going to listen to it? Because I know I'm not. I'll do whatever the fuck I want. Because you know what? We've already suffered through a lockdown as it is. The economic damage that has been done by this corrupt government and its draconian measures to control a scamdemic, put simply, is well and truly beyond anything that you could ever imagine. Honestly, if you didn't know about the United Kingdom and you were told that this place was getting locked down for a second time in 3 or 4 months, all due to a virus, that people were getting arrested for practicing free speech or wanting to support people who support free speech, or that people who critique a religion get assaulted and the police do nothing, you'd almost think we were living in South Korea, China, or Russia. We are actually at a point where we're probably second to none of how corrupt our government really is. And I do appreciate how bold a statement that is. But there's actually a certain someone who's actually provided me all the motivation I need at this point. And ironically, they're not providing the sort of nice motivation like, go on, you can do this, you're doing great, keep up the good work, all that shit. No. It's someone who actually wishes me to get COVID 1984. They were saying, and I quote, I really hope you get COVID. I really hope you get it. And then you won't, when you're on your deathbed, you won't be laughing the way you are now, or you won't be the way you are now. And you'll think, look at all those selfish fuckers who aren't adhering to the rules. End quote. Nice, huh? Do you know what's really sad? That comes close. I'll leave it at that. But it's very, very close within inner circle. Some people probably already know who it is. But I'm not going to reveal names because I'm not going to tar my name through the mud for the sakes of someone who still has their head up their own arse and is so spiteful and nasty that they would willingly wish someone to get that virus. Even I have not wished someone to get COVID 1984 on anyone. I have not once wished that on even my worst enemies. And I have fucking plenty, let me tell you. But the fact that this individual would pretty much solidifies, in my opinion, that I'm doing the right thing by making these videos. Again, since I had to delete the channel because the same individual threatened me. The same individual who basically wants to see me silenced. Because that's what the left and the government want. They want people like me, they want people like Tommy, Sargon, Count Dankula, Politico, Super J. They want us silenced because we pose a threat. And this lockdown, it already choked the life out of small businesses that were barely scraping by each and every day. They barely survived the last lockdown. And now the government's planning to bring in this lockdown as well. Do they not realise the damage they're doing? And you can sit here and be like, oh, well, it's not affecting the lives of people because it's just money. No. The economy has a direct impact on the way of life of ordinary citizens. Take a page out of Greece, what had happened before we had the EU referendum, how they were suffering through the worst I can't even get the words out now, poverty and austerity that their generation had known. And they were pleading with their governments, please do something about the situation. And when they didn't, the Greeks turned violent because they had no options left. Britain right now is going down the same path as Greece. This lockdown is going to further damage the wealth of the country. Wealth we simply don't have. We have debts in our billions, if not trillions. And yet our government wants to lock us down again. Boris Johnson. Bullshit Johnson, more like. Or bullshit jumped up Jim Bunny, maybe would be a better way of putting it. When we, the British people, said we wanted to leave the European Union, we said we wanted to leave the European Union, not leave the UK in tatters. When will you twats in the government understand what you're doing to the country? In fact, I tell you what, if you're not willing to enter lockdown yourselves, if you're not actually willing to endure the pain that ordinary British people, like myself and my family, and other people's families in the middle class and the low classes of population here, or population. God, my English is hard, you know. Anyway, live with the conditions they have to go through, government, and then we might consider listening to you in your lockdown. I personally still won't, because I know it's a crock of shit. But you know what? Until they actually go through what we're going through now, barely able to live on what scraps we've got, I say we pay no attention to this lockdown. I say bollocks to the lockdown. Because right now, I think our way of life is far too important for traitors like Boris Johnson and our corrupt establishment to be taking away from us. Who the fuck are they to sit in their little seats of power with all their wealth and none of the pain to tell us indigenous British people, as a lot of people would call us, Little Englanders, suffer every single day knowing that we are having our freedoms stripped, our ability to congregate and socialise and enjoy our lives taken away from us? Who the hell are they to impose those restrictions on us? I say, how dare you? Much like Greta Thunberg when she held that summit on the climate change. How dare you? Only this time, it's a lot more justified, because you're messing with millions of people's lives here, Boris Johnson. How about you live with the lockdown? How about you and your people at the top end of the chain live through the lockdown? And then we will see how willing you are to hold that lockdown. How willing will you be to sacrifice your wealth and your power to live like how a quote-unquote Little Englander does? I bet you wouldn't want to put up with that for 5 seconds, let alone 30 fucking days. I am tired of seeing our government continue to go against the will of the British people. Last time I checked, I live off the law of the land, not the land of Nod. Not the land of these tosspots in government who think they should be the ones in power and that they are the ones who should control this country. The British people elected you, Boris Johnson. The British people elected the Conservatives because you lot were worried about UKIP coming along and taking away the votes because we wanted to leave the European Union. That's the only reason you're in power right now, and you were put in power to uphold the wishes of the British people. You lot have done sod all in the last 6 years. 8 years, actually. We never should have been in the European Union. I'm trying to remember the date now of which we joined. Was it like 1972 or something? When we first joined the European Economic Commission? Which turns out that was a lie, and we were told would not affect us, and it was a fraud, so we shouldn't have even been members of them in the first place. We could have just walked out of that thing, and they wouldn't have been able to do anything to stop us. So yes, when I hear this bullshit about lockdowns and the coronavirus, or COVID-1984, as I will always call it, I feel my brain cells literally pointing a gun at their head. Literally like, I'm going to kill myself if I see any more of this shit, if I hear any more of this shit, before they eventually commit suicide. Obviously, metaphorically speaking, I'm not actually going to go and do that. Because I actually have a bit of willpower, believe it or not, even if I look like a fat fuck. I know I've sworn profusely in this, but as I said, I'm not holding anything back, because our government needs to be held to account. Our media needs to be held to account. Our police forces need to be held to account. They serve the people, not the other way round. And as I said, we are heading down the path of Greece. We have pleaded constantly for these bastards in Parliament not to do another lockdown, not to impose these ridiculous restrictions that serve nothing more than to damage small businesses, so the poorer get poorer, and in the meantime the rich get richer, which has pretty much been the slogan of the Conservatives, the Conservatives. We have pleaded with them on all sorts of matters, including Tommy Robinson, when he was arrested back in May and held in court in October for basically putting out in the public domain what was already in the public domain about a Muslim grooming gang. We're losing our freedom of speech. We're losing our freedom of movement in this country, not the freedom of movement that the bastards in the boats and all that are doing. But we're losing our freedoms of speech, movement, our ability to socialise, our ability to enjoy ourselves. The government is sucking the life out of this country. It is like a vampire, literally on your neck, draining your entire body of blood. Only in this case, instead of body of blood, it's more like the United Kingdom's ability to enjoy their lives. They're literally sucking the very lifeblood out of the country. All this because they want to do this diversity and inclusion bollocks. That, we have a humanitarian duty to help these migrants and all that bollocks. And I would say if this was literally the first country they came to, maybe we should take a few of them. But it shouldn't be hundreds of thousands of them, like we did before. It shouldn't be at a point where we're taking a net migration of 400,000 people, or whatever the figure was. I know it's around 400,000, I do know that much. And that was based off of, I believe, 2016. But if they haven't come to this country through the legal routes, through the EU, which we technically have left, so we don't technically have to take any of these migrants if we don't want to. Should we take asylum seekers? Genuine ones? Yes, absolutely. I'm not saying we shouldn't help anyone, but the economic migrants that have gone through at least 3 or 4 safe countries before coming to the UK technically have no legal or human right to be here. As I've always said and will say repeatedly until the end of time. As I said, We're falling apart. The country is falling apart. And I know a certain someone is going to bleat on about, oh, but the world's falling apart as well. Yes, but we can't worry about the whole world. Worry about the whole world once we're able to help ourselves. Because if we can't help ourselves, how the hell are we supposed to help others? Ask yourself that question. My computer's just gone off. Anyway, that's the way I look at it. The lockdown is bullshit. I'm not following it. And I'm going to make sure if I do get harassed by police, I'm going to have my phone on and I am going to be recording everything. I am not going to allow these pricks to continue to walk over the British people. That is why I'm making a video much sooner than I'd planned. The disgusting behaviour of the police in regards to Hutton and Tommy Robinson in Speaker's Corner. The bullshit lockdowns that Boris Johnson wants to force on us again. And I honestly think we are well and truly headed for a revolution in this country. But the people have got to find their fight. They have got to dig deep. They got to dig deep, like the forefathers and grandfathers before us who sacrificed their lives in 2 world wars to give us freedom. We did not get given those freedoms by our forefathers and our founding fathers for pricks like Boris Johnson and the traitorous government to walk over us like doormats, take away our freedoms, and deny us our right to live. Fuck that! We deserve better. We are British people. We are human beings, not dogs that need muzzles on our faces because we're afraid of the common flu. And if they won't listen to us, then maybe there is no choice for this country other than to embrace revolution. I don't want it. I don't want violence on the streets. I don't want violence in this country, full stop. I've always said that. But at this point, the government's giving us very little option at this point. Before long, I think violent revolution is going to break out. And the government and the police, their two-tier policing, the corrupt establishment, they'll have nobody to blame but themselves. And the army has already said, categorically, that if a revolution were to take place, they would side with the people. You might have a few officers and top brass and the toffs and the tosspots who might side against the people, but there will be far more army on the side of the people than of our corrupt establishment. Because remember, the power belongs to us, not them. We are the ones who determine what happens with this country, not the traitorous government who wants to see small businesses suffer and the indigenous population writhe in agony at this lockdown. As one saying goes, when you make peaceful resolution impossible, you make violent revolution inevitable. And as I've said, and I will say again, I do not support it, I do not condone it, but if it does happen, the government and the police and the media will only have themselves to blame for it. They'll try to pin it, of course, as, oh, it's the far right, you see, they are violent, they are this, they are that. But no, the bottom line is, it's like when you push somebody to the edge of a cliff. You can only push them so far before that person realises their life is in danger, and flight or fight kicks in. The other way around, actually. That's the way it's ordered. Anyway, it's only a matter of time before fight or flight kicks in, and then they fight back for what they believe in. And that's what the people need to do. They need to fight back. They need to fight for what they believe in. Because otherwise this country is doomed. And then all of a sudden, migrating to other countries might not be such a bad idea. And the United Kingdom will no longer be the island of prosperity, but rather the island of death. Is that what you want to be remembered for, Boris Johnson? for the death of a country because you're too selfish to actually go through what the British people are going through. Because you're too selfish to realise the lockdowns are not going to do anything but hurt us. Because you're too selfish to sacrifice that big wad of cash and your power and understand what the people are really going through. Are you really willing to do that? I'd think long and hard before you make that decision to lock us down on Thursday. Because if the people have decided they've had enough, and they decide they want their country back, you will be responsible for potentially hundreds of thousands of people, if not millions, killing each other on the streets in violent revolution because you don't want to give the people the freedom they deserve. My name's Abathurx, previously known as daBImA, and I am, as always, extremely bad news for the religion of Islam, the fake news media, the corrupt police force, and most importantly, our treacherous government who wants to see us all locked down and possibly cause the death of this country. Thank you all for watching.